To that top story now, and the Minister of Tourism, Patricia de Lille, has dissolved the South African Tourism Board after it failed to justify why it should remain in office. This follows the board's suspension of CEO Nombulelo Guliwe last week over misconduct. The Institute of Directors has warned the decision could raise governance issues. We're joined by Parmi Natesan from the Institute. Parmi, a very good evening to you. What an absolute mess.
Evening, Andrew. Absolutely, and things are changing by the minute. We made some comments yesterday in anticipation, and then we woke up this morning to hear that the board had actually been dissolved last night.
Has the minister done the right thing here?
You know, that's such a difficult question because we only know what's been reported in the public domain. I think what struck me was what seemed to have been reported was that the minister had been unhappy with the board calling a special board meeting, which the minister and her advisors called unlawful or ultra-virus, because in terms of the Tourism Act, and it's very clear, I actually went through it, the Tourism Act says the chairperson may convene a special board meeting. Now, because the chairperson of Tourism SA had stepped down a few weeks ago, there's effectively no chairperson in place. So on strict reading of the Act, yes, the chairperson calls a special board meeting, but I don't think the Act had intended that there wouldn't be a chairperson for a point in time. And I think, you know, even if the shareholder, in this case being the minister, wasn't ready to make a permanent appointment of a new chairperson, I think what really is missing for me is the role of an acting chairperson in an interim vacancy. And interestingly enough, the Tourism Act actually does make reference to an acting role for a CEO if there's a temporary vacancy in the position of CEO. So I think, you know, equally for this important role of leading the board and the functions and the duties that they need to fulfill, there should have been an acting chairperson so that they could then function.
Do we know what Nombulelo Guliwe allegedly did?
There have been a number of things reported over a few years now. I'm not sure what led to the decision of the board, the most recent decision to suspend her. What I've read in the public domain is that she was suspended pending an investigation into allegations of misconduct. What I can say is that, you know, any board sitting out there, they are responsible to appoint the CEO and also performance manage the CEO. Therefore, it makes sense that they therefore also are accountable to investigate if investigations need to happen, to suspend if it's necessary, and ultimately to remove the CEO, obviously in line with labour law, etc. There must have been a good reason for the board to call a special meeting and to take such a decision to suspend a CEO. It's not a decision that gets taken lightly. So I'm assuming the board would have been made aware of some allegations. They would have been put in a very difficult position. Imagine you're the board now, you hear these allegations about the CEO who you are meant to be overseeing. You feel like your hands are tied because there's no chairperson of the board at the time to lead you. What do? Because if you don't hold the special meeting and act on what you've heard, then you're almost not fulfilling your fiduciary duties towards the entity. So it's a very difficult position to place the board in.
Yeah, I mean, Parmi, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, we've got a problematic CEO. The board, on the face of it, is doing their job. I mean, shouldn't they be applauded rather than dismissed?
Yeah, I think there's debates either way. We obviously don't know the full story. You know, I don't know if we will ever know the full story. Look, on the face of it, what it seems to me is that there's form over substance, really. So we're looking at the letter of the law and saying they acted unlawfully. But if you look at substance and intention and them fulfilling their duties, I don't see how we can hold it against the board for calling a special meeting if they felt it was absolutely necessary in order for them to fulfill their functions.
All right, Parmi Natesan, thank you very much indeed. We have reached out to the office of the Tourism Minister, and yeah, no interview with her.